and the year before, number 45. The Tavis Smiley Show has rapidly expanded its national syndication to now include nearly 50 radio stations across the country and counting. Congratulations, Tavis.
Yay, yay!
Shine, flies, no time to waste while it's passing you by. Shine, flies, be patient, 'cause good things happen in time. We gon' get it right, we gon' get it right, we gon' get it right. We gon' get it right.
Protests and anthems, yes, we chanting. A movement of people, it's like we dancing to the ministry of. It's the energy of, in memory of them that we love. The trinity of the people, the peace, the power, the truth. We speak the powers even louder. We can say it blacker, we can say it prouder. A woman vice president that went to Howard. Now we talk helping black businesses, and our differences is magnificent. Bringing light to the point where the prisons is. I was told good life is where forgiveness lives. The ascension is to leave what's left behind and feed the seeds with deeds that bless the mind, caress the mind, and question justify. With you and God in time, my best align.
Shine, flies, no time to waste while it's passing you by. Shine, flies, be patient, 'cause good things happen in time. We gon' get it right, we gon' get it right. We gon' get it right. We gon' get it right.
How can I be a better father, son, a better grandson, honoring Fannie Lou's and the Fred Hamptons, the Harriets, the chariots that carry us to various areas that marry us to progress. Yeah, we the harvest, the lovely days and midnight marauders, even through charges and days of darkness. No, we in the hands of the greatest artists. I see it in the waters, I see it in our daughters. They could be bridges that know no borders. For so long, them folk try to ignore us. So we at the ballot box, it's a vote for us. Peace to Stacey and the people of Georgia, who galvanized so that we can move forward. Steps are ordered with the presence of mind. Everything's more beautiful in time.
Shine, flies, no time to waste while it's passing you by. Shine.
You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey, your host and White House correspondent. Not there today, not at the White House. Neither is your favorite president. Happy Thanksgiving week, y'all. We all need a break. I've been touching, so you be in touch. Be sure to follow me on all the social media platforms at Dr. Nii-Quartelai. Just type in Dr. Nii-Q, DRNIIQ, and there I am, fresh for you to follow. Also, be sure to download the KBLA app to listen to us live or on demand, or if you're feeling fancy. Now, this ain't everybody, but if you're feeling fancy, you can just tell Alexa to play KBLA Talk 1580, and there we are for your listening pleasure. Last but not least, subscribe to A More Perfect Union podcast. That way, you'll never miss an episode. Now, listen, happy Thanksgiving week, everyone. We're almost there. It's almost Thanksgiving Eve. And when we get there, we can all just let our hair down and relax. I know folks have been traveling already. The Thanksgiving travel has begun. The Thanksgiving shopping trips, because you know it's going to be more than just one. I'm just letting you know. Don't think you went to Costco the last time today. But 'tis the season, and we love it, love it, love it, love it. Now, it's time for your National News Roundup. It's time for you to decide the good, bad, and ugly headlines of the day. Kicking us off, living an American nightmare. An LA hearing details the lasting trauma of the ICE raids. The Trump administration's ICE raids across Southern California have had a disastrous effect on the region's immigrants swept up in this U.S. citizens, and they've also swept up U.S. citizens in the process. Community leaders and residents said as much at a congressional hearing right here in LA just yesterday. Andrea Velez, an American arrested by U.S. immigration officials over the summer, described how she was accosted by masked agents while on her way to work. on her way to work. She said she was charged with assaulting an officer and held for 2 days in a federal detention center where detainees had to pay for a cup in order to have water. The charges against her were ultimately dismissed due to what her attorney describes as lack of evidence, but Democrats organized the hours-long congressional oversight hearings right here in Los Angeles in order to hear testimony about the impacts of Donald Trump's sweeping deportation agenda and looked at alleged civil rights abuses by federal agents and the unlawful detention of U.S. citizens. We've had immigration lawyer and a More Perfect Union contributor, Alan Orr, on this show as often as we can book him to separate the fact from the fiction, to make sure that people know their rights. And one of the recurring nightmares that came up was a nightmare of U.S. citizens being swept up in this, and it all being couched as an administrative error. Well, it's good to see that members of Congress are getting outside of Washington, D.C. and going out into the field and collecting congressional testimony that way. The White House said earlier this month that the federal government had arrested more than 150,000 undocumented immigrants and deported nearly 140,000 people since Trump took office. His administration has made Southern California a focal point for its aggressive mass deportation campaigns. Federal agents have descended on car washes and Home Depot stores and near schools and workplaces, leaving Southern California communities in fear and parks and churches empty. Federal government has been accused of blatant racial profiling and civil rights violations. We can all do what members of Congress are doing, which is document. Take out your phones and document any alleged abuses that you are witnessing. You never know when that documentation, when that testimony, when that video or audio can come in handy in terms of holding people accountable. In other news, the FBI is seeking interviews with 6 Democrats that Trump has accused of seditious behavior. NBC News is reporting that the FBI is working to schedule interviews with the 6 Democratic lawmakers who appeared in a video urging members of the military and intelligence committee not to comply with, operative word, illegal orders. Illegal orders. Hear me. These members of Congress, these 6 Democratic lawmakers, they didn't say don't comply with any of the president's orders. They said do not comply with illegal orders, reminding them that they take an oath not to one man, one president, but to the Constitution. The move, first reported by Fox News, comes days after President Trump accused the Democrats, all of whom served in the military or intelligence roles, of, quote, seditious behavior. Details of the investigation were not immediately clear, but the lawmakers confirmed that they had heard from the House or Senate Sergeant of Arms about the FBI efforts. In a joint statement, 4 of the Democrats in the video, all members of the House, they accused Trump of, quotes, using the FBI as a tool to intimidate and harass members of Congress. Fingers and toes crossed as U.S. officials say that the Ukrainian delegation has agreed with the U.S. on terms of a potential peace deal. This is a big deal. We know that you and me and millions of other U.S. taxpayers, have been funding Ukraine's opposition to Russian aggression. This is a major development, as U.S. officials told sources today that the Ukrainian delegation has agreed to the United States, on the terms of a potential peace deal. U.S. Army Secretary Dan Driscoll, he held secret talks on Monday with the Russian delegation in Abu Dhabi to follow up on this weekend's talks with Ukraine and Geneva that were intended to move the Ukrainian peace process forward. the previous undisclosed talks with the Russian delegation on Monday. They follow talks held in Geneva as well. And so, look, these are really fragile. This president and his negotiators are eager to strike a deal, but it's not done until it's done. And one of the big questions remains of some territory that the Russians have claimed as their own. And one of the big questions is that going to be considered legal? I mean, one of the major issues here at foot is territorial sovereignty. Put differently, if Canada decided that they were going to come and take up the state of Washington, it's close enough to Vancouver, they're going to come and they're going to take Washington. They believe Washington is rightfully theirs, and we fight over it. And then some third party says we're going to broker a peace deal. And if Canada says we'll sign the deal as long as we get to keep Washington or most of Washington, do we really want to live in a world where folks are able to assault the territorial sovereignty of another nation? Do we really want to do that? So there are far-reaching implications. This is bigger than just striking a deal between Russia and Ukraine. Whatever deal they strike is a deal that we're all going to have to live by. And so lots of eyes around the world paying extra close attention to this. When we come forward, we're switching gears. We'll be joined with More Perfect Union contributors Jamar Reed and Dr. Jonathan Collins. We're going to talk about Oregon's data center boom is actually creating a water crisis. And if you're looking for a canary in the coal mine when it comes to some of the challenges that will likely ensue as a result of this data center boom across the country, a lot of eyes are on Oregon, and rightfully so. We're going to talk about that and more when we come forward. You're listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580.
You're listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
If you're one of the millions of Americans behind on your taxes, if you're afraid to open your mail because IRS collection letters could be coming, listen carefully. The IRS is cracking down, taking paychecks, freezing bank accounts, revoking passports. That's a fact. But here's what most people don't know. There are official tax relief programs designed to help struggling taxpayers. Programs that could save you thousands if you qualify. No one knows these programs better than the experts at Optima Tax Relief. Optima's award-winning team will fight to protect your paycheck, your passport, and your property. Their tax attorneys and licensed professionals will work tirelessly to get you the best deal possible with the IRS. Everyday penalties and interest keep piling up, so don't wait. Call Optima now for a free consultation.
Call 800-919-9077. 800-919-9077. 800-919-9077.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
All I need is one mic.
With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley. We want to speak directly to our listeners in Altadena and all across Southern California. Recently, we invited Southern California Edison to join a town hall so fire survivors could ask questions and get clear information about the Altadena Eaton fire and this so-called settlement fund. Weeks before the event, the law firm originally connected to the program withdrew, and we provided SCE updated materials confirming those changes. But despite that, SCE later stated publicly and privately that they were pulling out of the town hall because plaintiffs' attorneys were participating. That was not accurate, and SCE knew that it was not accurate. But when shown documentation that disproved their claim, SCE ignored it and declined to correct the record. At KBLA Talk 1580, trust is not an option. It is the foundation of our work and witness. It is the promise that we make to you. And so we will not move forward with any partnership that misrepresents the facts or undermines the credibility that we have built in love and service to this beloved community. Our commitment remains with the good people of Altadena. We will continue providing independent, verified information to support your recovery without interference from any outside entity, including Southern California Edison, so you don't get burned twice. With the KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley. As always, we welcome your feedback.
Hit me! National news, the consequence, informed opinion, and analysis beyond the headlines. You're listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580.
You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey. I'm really delighted to be back in conversation with Jamar Reed. He's the managing partner and co-founder of District Analyst. He's also who I like to think of as our data justice correspondent. We're also joined with Dr. Jonathan Collins, who's assistant professor of political science at Columbia University. He's a frequent contributor here. And we got to come up with a spiffy title for you, Dr. Collins. Jamar is our data justice correspondent. You got to think of something.
Yeah, I'll work on it. I'll workshop some stuff. I'll put my 4-year-old on the case. She's good.
Thanks a lot. Well, listen, one thing that folks are going to have to think a whole lot about, and more importantly, how to mitigate the effects of this. A lot of folks talking about this Rolling Stone article on how Oregon's data center boom is really supercharging a water crisis. Our communities are no stranger to water crises, whether we're talking about the Flint water crisis. By the way, Flint has not been made completely whole all these years, or we're talking about the water crisis in places like Jackson, Mississippi. And I could go on and on and on. There are a lot of major cities, a lot of majority Black cities that are already experiencing a water crisis. What we know now is that there are a number of folks out there that are weary. They're weary of all the fanfare around these data centers, but far less fanfare around repairing the infrastructure that exists in these cities for the people. If there's any interest in addressing these infrastructure challenges, it's to expedite the building of these data centers, not to make sure this infrastructure is performing for the people. Jamar, talk to us about this latest case in Oregon and how Amazon appears to be worsening a water pollution problem that's been linked to cancer and miscarriages.
Yeah. So Dr. Quartey and Dr. Collins, as I sit here back in my home state of Michigan, less than an hour away from Flint, this one right here hits home. I think about the fact that one of the stats that I was able to pull looking at this is that a single hyperscale data center can use between 1 and 5 million gallons of water per day. And when I think about, I'm one of those people, of course, I'm in the data science space, and I can appreciate that data is available. But I'm always, the question that I always come on, and when we have these conversations, at what cost? What is the investment that our communities have to make in order to have access to this information? And is the output and the positive outweighing the negative and what's being taken away from our communities? So this is definitely one that hits home as I sit here, like I said, in the state of Michigan, where Flint has not been made whole. I wonder about, do the costs outweigh or it put us in a negative space against what we get out of these data centers?
Let's talk about the politics of this. Let's talk about the politics of this, Dr. Collins. Is it safe to say that the lives of people in Flint, the lives of people in Jackson, Mississippi, Black lives, is it safe to say that that they don't matter when it comes to the construction of these data centers? I don't see anyone calling attention to the infrastructure challenges that still exist, but instead, I'm seeing a lot of folks in public office and outside of public office in support of these data centers in the name of more jobs, in the name of more economic activity, in the name of, being a part, of, the riding the AI wave of the future. Why don't Black Lives matter in this conversation? Why does it feel like Black lives are on mute?
Well, the problem is we have not accepted a very important truism that circulates through the Black community. Dr. Nee, all money ain't good money.
Don't we know it?
All money ain't good money. And so what happens is these large companies like Amazon, they come into these smaller, especially more rural areas, and they promise all kinds of economic opportunity, jobs, economic growth. One, the evidence is even mixed on whether or not that's actually the case. We don't see actual consistent economic improvement from cities that let these huge companies come in and establish facilities. It's also questionable as to whether or not they hire the local talent in mass. So even just the idea that this is going to be this major economic stimulus is at the very least in question. But all money ain't good money. Even the money that's coming in isn't worth it, because you look at what's happening here in parts of rural Oregon. Like, Dr. D, they are essentially allowing the water system to become polluted essentially by the day. They are identifying direct cancer cases that are connected to the infusion of these data centers and the process that they're undergoing to try to cool the hardware needed to operate these data centers, and therefore give us the ability to chat GPT it up. And so at some point, humanity has to come before technology. And if this can happen in rural Oregon, where county commissioners are signing off on this and doubling down, defending this position in the Rolling Stone piece, imagine what can happen in Flint, Michigan. Imagine what can happen in Jackson, Mississippi, Memphis, Tennessee, right? Houston, Texas. Imagine what can happen in the cities that we populate, New Orleans, Louisiana. Again, I think you used the right analogy, Dr. Nee. Miner, the miner in the canary, right? Because we're next.
Yeah, no, I mean, and for folks who are a little less familiar with this story coming out of Oregon, apparently there's an aquifer underneath Morrow County, which is the only source of water for as many as 45,000 residents in and around the county, and the majority of whom rely on private wells that draw on the basin. Since 1991, regulators at the Oregon Department of Environmental Quality have been collecting samples from the aquifer that shows a slow and steady increase of chemical toxins in the water. One of the Republicans that's featured pretty prominently in this article said that water hadn't really been a political priority for them. They've been focused mostly on economic development and transportation until a couple of years ago into his second term, when the uptick of stories that he heard about young women enduring miscarriages and middle-aged men with organ failure, it started making him uneasy. And scientists believe that excess consumption of even a small amount of nitrates can do significant harm to the human body. They can cause debilitating conditions in newborns and have been linked to increased risks of cancer. And so, is this potentially, Jamar, an opportunity to convert the converted? There are a number of Republicans out there. There are folks who don't even identify as Republicans, but identify as part of the MAGA movement out there that are rooting the Trump administration on. They're saying, hey, y'all can't build these data centers fast enough. But the fact that there's a Republican is prominently featured in this Rolling Stone piece that's saying, wait a minute, I'm having second thoughts about this. Does that provide an opening for folks that are not opposed to innovation. They just want to make sure that we do right by communities and do it responsibly.
Yeah, I mean, Dr. Q, I mean, I think that's a perfect point, and I'm going to drill in on what Dr. Collins said. All money is not good money, and what is a job? You know, if I'm able to get to have more jobs created in my community, but folks are not able to care for themselves as they start to develop these illnesses. So more jobs, but the community becomes sicker. The trade-off just doesn't make sense to me. And I think that's and to your point, this is something that should go across political lines. This is about, you know, about keeping our communities healthy, whether they are red or blue. This is about making sure that if we're focused in on technology, we're doing it responsibly. And I think this is an opportunity for politicians to work together in order to do what we send them to Congress to do, which is protect our communities, not just bring on more jobs, but bring on more jobs responsibly. So I definitely I zeroing in on the point you made there. Yeah.
Dr. Collins, is there hope? Is there hope for folks that are trying to break the fever of the MAGA movement on at least this issue? If not just Democrats, but folks in opposition to these data centers, if they really sort of lean in and connect the dots, as this Republican prominently featured in the Rolling Stone article has done.
Well, that's the concern. You know, the Republican in the story his name is Jim Doherty. He's a rancher turned county commissioner, and he identifies this contamination issue, brings it to his Republican colleagues, and it essentially ends up in not only him in a political infight with his fellow partisan mates, but he ended up getting recalled from office. They publicly removed him from the county commissioner seat. It's like we would rather deal with this contamination water and the quote unquote jobs that seem to come along with it, even if it kills us, right? So, you know, this is death by political parties. This is really concerning.
We're going to continue to keep our eye on not just this story in Oregon, but other stories related to these data centers. Lots of money, billions of dollars are being pumped into communities across the country to build these data centers. But we don't know nearly enough about the long-term effects they may have on our health, the long-term effects they may have on our water supply, on our energy grid. And so, you know, as they say, as goes California, as goes the nation, well, as goes places like Oregon, as goes places like Flint, as goes places like Jackson, as goes a lot of Black communities and rural communities across the country. We're going to keep our eye on that. More with Jamar Reed and Dr. Jonathan Collins when we come forward. You're listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580.
The audience is listening, thought-provoking, eye-opening, heart-rendering. This is where authentic voices meet powerful discussions on culture, community, and change. This is where Black voices matter. He's breaking boundaries, amplifying diverse perspectives, and tackling the issues that matter most to you. You're inside A More Perfect Union with Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. The Miami-Dade College Board will vote again next week on giving land by the Freedom Tower for a Trump presidential library. Trustee Marcel Felipe calls the lawsuit filed by Black historian Marvin Dunn a public relations stunt.
It's just going to be a gigantic waste of taxpayer money for somebody to satisfy their ego.
A trial is set for August 2026. Delaware State University continues to draw young people in. New data shows fall 2025 enrollment has climbed to 6,623 students, a more than 31% jump since 2020. Students from 41 states, D.C., and Puerto Rico are choosing the HBCU, which also welcomed its largest freshman class this year. And Chance the Rapper will host Chicago's first Central Time countdown on Dick Clark's New Year's Rockin' Eve with Ryan Seacrest 2026. He'll join Ryan Seacrest in New York for the nationwide celebration. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
In Lincoln Heights right now, there's a disabled vehicle in the left lane on the 5 northbound after Main Street. Traffic is stopped from the 10. Pomona, there's a disabled vehicle on the 71 southbound just before Holt Avenue, and that has traffic stopped from the 57. In Redondo Beach, the right shoulder is taken up with a crash on the 405 southbound after Inglewood Avenue.
Got issues with youth or high school sports? Positive Coaching Alliance can help. PCA, a national nonprofit, offers more than 1,000 free online resources for youth and high school sports coaches, parents, students, and administrators. Visit PCADevZone.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
LeBron is facing a strong challenge to keep alive a significant milestone in his record-setting career. Because he missed the Lakers' first 14 games, he cannot miss more than 3 games the rest of the season to remain eligible for postseason honors. NBA rules require players to play at least 65 regular season games. LeBron, who turns 41 on December 30th, will play in his 3rd game tonight against the Clippers at Crypto.com. The milestone in jeopardy is LeBron's streak of 21 consecutive years of being named to the All-NBA team. The issue for LeBron and the Lakers medical staff is how they're going to handle the 11 back-to-back games remaining on the Lakers schedule. Considering LeBron's age and his recovery from a back injury, it might be difficult to keep him in the lineup for most of the Lakers' remaining 62 games. Something to keep an eye on as LeBron nears the end of a remarkable career. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Break out the champagne. Everybody get a glass.
Tavis Smiley is now ranked number 16 nationally and the highest rated talk show hosted by an African American on the 2025 Talkers Heavy 100 list of the most important talk radio hosts in the nation. Last year, Tavis ranked number 33 and the year before, number 45. The Tavis Smiley Show has rapidly expanded its national syndication to now include nearly 50 radio stations across the country and counting. Congratulations, Tavis.
Yay, yay!
We asked seniors how to prevent Medicare scams.
My best advice, if you get a phone call, do not talk to the person. These people are well trained. Don't talk to them.
They don't know me. They're just trying to scam me.
Don't be fooled. Hang up. Just hang up.
Never give out your Medicare number.
They're going to get your number to put in a false claim.
If I get a call from someone, I don't pick up the phone. And should I pick up the phone and they ask for information, then I hang up.
How do you detect Medicare fraud?
Just like I check my credit card statements, I check my Medicare statements monthly.
Scammers can get a hold of your number, order medical devices through your account, and you're not even going to know about it if you don't look at your statement.
Check your statement every month. If you get your statement and you see something that you know you did not have done, you report it.
Call your senior Medicare Patrol.
To report Medicare fraud, call the Senior Medicare Patrol at 855-613-7080.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 is committed to self-care and community well-being. Walk Good LA was formed in June 2020, inspired by the Black Lives Matter movement and the beginning stages of the COVID-19 pandemic. What began as a few minutes of breath work and yoga meditation before protests against police brutality turned into a safe space for the community to heal in hard times. The immensely positive response from the community transformed the momentum into a movement. Today, Walk Good LA is a Black and Brown-led community wellness organization based in Los Angeles. They provide spaces for healing through community yoga classes, guided meditations, hikes, run clubs, and other activations throughout Los Angeles that attract hundreds of members weekly. With the help of Propel and Michael B. Jordan, they now have a yoga and wellness studio in Los Angeles called the Walk Good Yard. To join their mailing list and connect with healing spaces, please visit walkgoodla.org. That's walkgoodla.org. Or find them on Instagram at walkgoodla. This is a community call to action, a community call to healing from KBLA Talk 1580.
Now back to building a more perfect union on KBLA Talk 1580.
You are listening to and streaming a More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey in conversation with my brothers Jamar Reed. He is the managing partner and co-founder of District Analyst and also Dr. Jonathan E. Collins. He's professor over at Columbia University. And we are separating the fact from the fiction on some of the biggest headlines today. Trump plans for Obamacare subsidies are on hold. Surprise, surprise. After a little pushback from the GOP. Y'all see this? USA Today is reporting that President Trump appeared ready to propose a policy framework. So let me just walk y'all through this. In 2015, he ran a campaign and rode in the office saying they were going to repeal and replace Obamacare. Okay, 2015. All right, 10 years ago. He gets in the office in his first term. They try to repeal it. What was it? Over 60 times? They try to repeal and replace Obamacare. But keep in mind, they didn't have anything to replace it with. They just said, we got to repeal it first, and then we're going to replace it. They tried so many times. The closest they got, remember Senator John McCain, may he rest in peace, Senator John McCain of Arizona, cast the deciding vote that turned down the opportunity to cut the Obamacare cut it out of your lives. And then so fast forward, he's back in office again and saying, okay, we get that healthcare is important to y'all, and we're going to replace it with something else. Well, he appeared ready to propose a policy framework, because remember, he had concepts of a plan during this last campaign, but now it's a policy framework, incremental, I guess, to address healthcare costs that included extending subsidies for the Affordable Care Act set to expire at the end of December. But the White House is delaying the proposal amid resistance from congressional Republicans. The announcement was expected as soon as Monday, but the proposal would require the approval of Congress, including a 2-year extension of the expiring ACA, often called Obamacare, as we know. The Republicans ain't feeling it. And guess what? We ain't believing it. Or should we, Dr. Collins?
No, so this is LA folks will resonate with this. The Trump administration and Republicans, they've been attacking the Affordable Care Act, quote unquote Obamacare for a long time. It's kind of almost like the dynamic between the Clippers and the Lakers, right? It's just like the Clippers, they try to have good seasons, they try to put together good teams, but LA is a Laker town. In the same way that LA is a Laker town, the United States is an Obamacare nation. Like, you think there's a laundry list of things that they try to do to undercut this. Pass new legislation to get rid of it. Didn't work. Every year, there's debates about the tax cuts that Republicans want to shove into the federal budget. And the main thing that they target with those tax cuts, it's been the Affordable Care Act. And every single time, though they threaten to superimpose these tax cuts if the Obamacare policy isn't repealed, guess what? It's still intact. They've gone to the courts. Trump has taken so many L's in the courts on Obamacare that we've lost count, right? They just continue to lose on this issue. And the most eye-grabbing thing to me is Marjorie Taylor Greene. It ain't nothing but a G thing. Marjorie Taylor Greene reversed course, and even she decided that these Affordable Care Act subsidies are important. And she's now resigning from Congress, and it looks like the defining issue on what might make her the next face of the Republican Party is, guess what, Dr. Nee? Healthcare.
But this is the thing. I think it's important that we don't fall for the okie doke, because while Marjorie Taylor Greene is, in my view, grandstanding, she's saying, I'm leaving Congress in January. She's apparently drawn the line with this president and Republicans on these ACA subsidies, as well as their lack of transparency around the Jeffrey Epstein files. But keep in mind, Marjorie Taylor Greene, didn't she vote for that so-called big, beautiful bill?
She did. She did.
So let me get this straight. You helped start the fire, and then you're saying, well, wait a minute, you're not supporting the firefighters, and because of your lack of support for the firefighters, I'm leaving. Huh? Where they do that? The Republican Party. Jamar, I want you to jump in on this. Politico reported that the proposed eligibility restrictions in Trump's proposal involves capping eligibility at 700% above the federal poverty line. In addition, the White House plan sought to appropriate funds to reduce out-of-pocket costs for the ACA plans. Is this even believable? I mean, capping eligibility at 700% above the federal poverty line, is that going to help more people or less people when it comes to their health care?
I mean, I think about this as we head into, and I wanted to say head into, as we are in tough times across the board. I mean, and I think about some of the stats out there. One thing that I was reading, it said that 60%, that Black Americans are 60% more likely to rely on ACA marketplace coverage than the rest of the United States. That's a report that came out 2024. And as we start to hear some of this news come out of Washington, I draw back to who relies on the ACA and who will be hurt most by the back and forth. And one thing we know is that we average Americans are not able to build stability when there's this back and forth with our elected officials. 1 year it's on, 1 year it's off, 1 year we're attacking, 1 year we're showing up. We need stability so that we can have stability in our own homes. So I mean, this is a it's a frustrating case here as we look into this.
Dr. Collins, speaking of stability and elected officials, NBC News is reporting that DC Mayor Muriel Bowser announced that she won't run for re-election. The Washington, D.C. mayor called the decision, quotes, the hardest thing I've had to do, and said she believes that she's accomplished the things that she set out to do as mayor. She went on to say, it's time for me to pass the baton on to the next set of leaders who are going to take our city to the next level. I've learned how to be really good at my job and to be a good mayor. And I know that there are a lot of people with ideas that can move the city forward. And for me and for my family, now's the time for me to do something else while I have a lot of energy and vigor and great ideas. Dr. Collins, we don't seem to hear that enough from all elected officials, including our Black elected officials. Talk to us about the legacy of Muriel Bowser, the fact that she's decided not to run for a third term, the fact that she has been one of the faces of major city mayors sparring with the Trump administration on occasion. Talk to us about the legacy of Muriel Bowser.
Well, she's made a significant contribution here. She will go down as a historical figure in the city of Washington, D.C. She was the 7th elected mayor of the city. Washington, D.C. was granted, the ability to govern itself through a home rule established, I believe, in like the 1970s. So even the idea of having a mayor is a relatively modern phenomenon. So she's the 7th mayor of the city in the city's history. She's the second person ever in the United States political history to win 3 consecutive 4-year terms for a mayoral seat. You look at what she's done as the mayor of that city, significant economic development, significant efforts around community development. She's implemented a wide array of social policy issues, especially around economic opportunity, economic access, job growth, and housing. She had one of the most creative approaches to attacking the problem of homelessness, where she took this more sort of like family-based approach. She essentially looked at homelessness as a family issue and targeted family instability as a way to address chronic homelessness. And I think she will be also remembered by her tensions that she had with the federal government, which is inevitable if you just look at Washington, D.C.'s charter. It's kind of embedded in there. In fact, Congress, I believe, used to have a line item to pass Washington, D.C.'s budget. So there's been historical tension there. But, she's navigated it well up until the point where, honestly, she let the Trump administration occupation happen. And, I was in D.C. a few weeks ago. Dr. Nee, I know you spend a lot of time there. In fact, are you looking for a new job? Or should we get some posters going? That's a hat of a man with political ambition. That's
you slick. I didn't see that one coming. You made me look over my glasses. I said, who?
Look, those are political frames. I see the bold leadership. But so the National Guard occupation there it's thick, and it feels like a city that lost to the will of the president. And unfortunately, I think that will be a part of her legacy too. But the economic development piece, the housing piece, and honestly, like just being such a popular mayor for the city of DC, I think that will overpower the negative of your legacy.
Jamar, is that your sense? Is it your sense that Mayor Muriel Bowser of DC, has her relationship, has her management, I should say, of Trump, does it pass the smell test among folks on the ground in DC? You live in Washington. You lived in Washington for some time now. In what ways do you agree or disagree, with Dr. Collins' assessment of Muriel Bowser's legacy? There's what she wants it to be, and then for the people of DC, it's what it is.
I'd say that the mayor has basically given a class in how to master dealing with a government that has, basically the federal government who has say so over the district. And I think back to her first term, where she was much bolder in her approach to dealing with Trump and his administration. And as she had to negotiate back and forth in this last last cycle here. And yes, I mean, there are some frustrations in the city, with folks that would wish that she would push back more. But I think I agree with Dr. Collins that she would go down as one of DC's mayors that has contributed in a great way. But of course, there are going to be folks that push from the other side. So it's definitely interesting. And I'll say this on this last point. The point that you made about elected officials moving back when they have accomplished the goals that they set out to, or the majority of the goals, and making space for folks with new ideas, definitely to be commended for that at a place where she could actually rerun and probably give a good fight towards that position there. Yeah.
I mean, amen to that. I hope all the elected officials across the country are paying attention to this, right? As long as you do what you set out to do, right, I think you'll live in the hearts and minds of the people, for a very long time, maybe even for generations, right? But it's the folks that are there because they ain't got nothing else to do. They're there because, I just don't want so-and-so to get it, right? I mean, behind the scenes, we hear, a lot of reasons, why folks sort of stay in office too long. In my opinion, why they almost become overcooked in office. But when we come forward, it's time for the quiet part out loud. Lots of talks about Black Friday and this Black Friday boycott. We're going to share with you the latest, and we're going to ask our panel, is it working? Will it work? What should we be considering when we hear calls to action around boycotting, whether it's Target or Home Depot or Spin the Wheel? You're listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. More with Jamar and Dr. Collins when we come forward.
Striving to make America a nation as good as its promise. This is A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
1 in 5 Black adults ages 70 and older is living with Alzheimer's disease, or AD, and the risk is twice as high compared to white adults. But AD isn't just forgetting a name or losing track of time. Signs of early AD could be repeating questions, missing appointments, or struggling with bills and daily tasks. These things aren't a normal part of aging. Here's the good news. Treatments are available that may help if AD is diagnosed early. If you notice changes in memory or daily routines, whether in yourself or a loved one, don't wait. Early diagnosis and intervention are key to managing AD effectively. To learn more about AD and a potential treatment option, visit treatalsearly.com. That's treatalzearly.com to learn more about the signs and symptoms and a potential treatment option. This message is brought to you by AZI.
If you're an adult in need of an accredited high school diploma, the Los Angeles Public Library can help. You can earn one for free in as few as 5 months online with 24/7 access. You also get a personal academic coach plus special training focused on 9 in-demand industries, as well as a resume and cover letter to advance your career. Visit the website at lapl.org/diploma. That's lapl.org/diploma.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. The Autopsy Initiative provides a second autopsy free of charge for victims' families who have lost their loved ones due to a police-related death. The services offered through the initiative include the completion of a second autopsy, disclosure of preliminary findings, and a final autopsy report. A police-related death is when an individual is harmed by police officers using deadly force, which results in an individual's death. Police-related death includes in-custody deaths, including those that arise during contact with law enforcement officers during arrest, pursuit, booking, transport, or incarceration. The Autopsy Initiative has a team of board-certified pathologists on call. An autopsy request may be completed by anyone with a close relationship with the victim, which may include the victim's spouse, partner, relative, close friend, or lawyer. To request a free second autopsy for a victim of police violence, please visit knowyourrightscamp.com. That's knowyourrightscamp.com. Then click on Autopsy, then click on Request. At KBLA, we believe in justice for victims of police violence. We say their names, and we don't black down. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
We face tragedy, but we don't fall into despair. We continue our work to build a more perfect union.
You're listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm joined with Jamar Reed, managing partner and co-founder of District Analysts, also Dr. Jonathan E. Collins, professor over at Columbia University. Gents, in our remaining minutes, look, you have folks over at The Guardian reporting on the latest Black Friday boycott, but there's a question as to whether or not it will work. We know while a lot of people out there are scrambling for deals on Black Friday and Cyber Monday, activists are hoping to leverage the shopping behavior for societal change. The We Ain't Buying It campaign. We ain't buying it. The We Ain't Buying It campaign, organized by many of the groups behind the No Kings protest, they're asking Americans to stop shopping at Target, at Home Depot, and Amazon on Black Friday, one of the busiest retail days of the year, while also encouraging people to shop local and support community businesses. Dr. Collins, is this the way to go? It's one thing to tell people what not to do. It's another thing to tell them what to do. Is this enough to be able to make a point with these big retailers and put them on their heels this holiday season?
Oh, it's absolutely enough. And you know how we know this? It's because we've seen proof of concept. I mean, if you go back to the 1950s and 60s, where we started to see this kind of like Black Friday sort of moment take form, in the 1960s, you actually had civil rights leaders who were actually coming in and saying, like, let's use our economic power here to add an element to the boycott that will be a fixture in the sort of right for Black freedom. And so it's been successful. Then we've seen civil rights organizations and leaders and activists leverage this. We've also seen the fact that there is this major racial dynamic that is at the heart of Black Friday. in the same way that Black Friday is considered an opportunity to buy goods at cheaper discounts, it was also once, at least at local police forces, especially in Philadelphia, this is very prominent there, where local police chiefs were signaling Black Friday as a day to increase police presence and engage in essentially harassment of Black shoppers, looking at the crowds that would form as gateways to theft. And so we were being criminalized by the prevalence of Black Friday. So again, we've seen civil rights activists leverage Black Friday as a way to sort of promote Black interests. We've seen Black Friday weaponized against us. And so it's great to see Black Friday activists in this modern sense, especially with Cyber Week, where we saw in 2024, Cyber Week accounted for $10 billion in economic activity. Yeah. It's time to make sure that they get right.
Jamar, in our remaining minutes, we know that organizers see the "We Ain't Buying It" campaign as this economic pressure campaign that fits into this broader civil resistance against the president's agenda. Is this the way to go? Is it a matter of just not shopping on Black Friday? Or is this too little, too late, considering the damage that this president's done?
Yeah, so I'll say quickly that I agree with Dr. Collins that there is proof of concept there. One thing I'm going to push us further and go back to something I mentioned before. We have to move beyond just consumption and become producers. And I think we spend a lot of time talking. And again, these retailers are quite intelligent, and they're using the data science and analytics to basically say, hey, they won't shop on this weekend, but that's going to push to the following weekend, or it's going to push to the next month. So these companies are using data to basically just predict when that spending is going to be when those products are going to be purchased. Again, moving beyond consumption into production.
Well, we're going to have to leave it there. It is worth noting that the "We Ain't Buying It" organizers, they see this campaign as bigger than just a boycott of these specific companies. The campaign is asking participants to reinvest back into their communities and pledge to be conscious consumers. They even released a toolkit for partners and encourage people to post on social media. And so be sure to check out the "We Ain't Buying It" campaign so you are fully informed and govern yourself accordingly. My thanks to my two incredible guests, Dr. Jonathan E. Collins of Columbia University, and also Jamar Reed, managing partner and co-founder of District Analyst. Happy Thanksgiving, gents. Can't wait to see you on the other side.
Thank you. Happy Thanksgiving, Dr. Reed.
You're listening to and streaming on Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. Dr. Adjoa joins us in our next hour to talk about her latest win in the movement around outlawing hair discrimination, the Crown Act. Governor Shapiro signed that into law today. She's fresh off of that latest win to talk about it right here with us more in our second hour on A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. Black boxing champ Clarissa Shields gave out over 300 turkeys at her annual Thanksgiving giveaway in Flint, Michigan.
To me, it's important because I was once in their shoes. It was the opposite way around.